Oh no! Oh no! Please don't.
Is that the whole
It's
clapping
the fucking
thing?
clapping thing.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, sweetheart. You're going to come and sit next to me. This film could be about you, you know.
Yeah.
I've always liked YMC. I mean, I like the name You Must Create, because I think that's quite a good command to humanity. And I like the aesthetic. It's very kind of function defines form, no unnecessary fussy detail, interesting fabrics, kind of modern but classic, and run by really nice people. Interested and enthusiastic, and suggested we did a collaboration together, reissuing some of the sort of old styles from the 80s. And I thought, why not? You know, they prepared to make it sustainably, which isn't actually that difficult these days, although everybody else seems to think it is. So we've got biodynamic silk from China. Biodynamic is actually above organic. It's not only organic, but they're not even allowed to bring anything in from outside. It's all got to be, you know, recycled on site. Extraordinary, Rudolf Steiner. Organic cotton, recycled polyester, and dyed with sustainable dyes. You know, what's the hate about it? I mean, also, you know, I have to do something. You know, I like making clothes. I like fashion. It's in my blood. It's something that I've been doing all my life, you know, and I never want to give it up. So this is an interesting, you know, an interesting new take. And Stop and Think was originally launched in 2003 when Bush declared, you know, the war on terror. And sort of the thinking behind it was, you know, it's not, you know, if people are resorting to terrorism, it's because they've got no other recourse for justice. I mean, maybe we should be, instead of deciding to bomb them out of existence, which is impossible because the more you bomb, the more you create, maybe we should be addressing, you know, what has causes terrorism and its oppression and injustice. I mean, look at the war in Iraq, you know, it's just what the results of that have just been, you know, unimaginable. Save the future, well, the future's really under threat. What have we lost? Half our wildlife species, the threat to the Great Barrier Reef, the threat to the oceans. We're looking at extinction of species that are greater, they're dying out at a faster rate than any previous extinction, and governments of the world seem to be doing very little to stop it, unless we change our ways we've had it. You know, there isn't going to be a future, you know, unless we all wake up as citizens and realize that even it's our overconsumption. You can't think, okay, we want binding agreements for governments, but you know, how we as individuals consuming, you know, how we spend decides the future of the planet. We should be looking at that. All the clothes I've made are styles that I like to wear. I mean, I suppose menswear is designed for people that I love, but I've always designed for myself, and I think all designers do. So these are stuff that I designed for myself earlier. When I design, I like to make something which is, you know, contemporary, it's modern, but it's got kind of classic angle, that it's never actually going to go out of fashion. It's always going to work on some level, because I think that's really annoying when you've got to throw away something because suddenly it's got ugly rather than it's just completely worn. You've worn it to death and it's fallen to pieces. Well, it's a kind of, it was just a, you know, one of those light bulb moments. I was having a discussion with my friend Lynn Franks, who'd put on a Buddhist exhibition, and she wanted to put over Buddhist values and Buddhist philosophy, which I think, you know, is absolutely wonderful. And I said, you know, this is not going to work. You know, if you want to put those messages over, you know, so the thing just falls out of your mouth, you'd be better to print it in giant letters on a T-shirt. And then, of course, I had to do it. So that's really how it started. But we were getting a huge amount of publicity to the point that it was kind of strange and weird. You know, it was too much attention. And I thought, what would soak it up and be great? And I love things that tick all the boxes. We're getting massively copied. Anything I was delivering to stores, manufacturers just go in and just rip off completely. So I thought anything that got copied, this would be hysterical, strong, you know, environmental, social messages, political messages, things about issues that, you know, screaming truths or issues that aren't being addressed. Well, I've always liked fashion. I used to live in France. I sort of brought up on Elle and French Vogue and French People, politics a lot later, and possibly by way of my father's job because he was a defence attaché. He did the Balkans and he did the Baltic, and I was 15 when he was posted to Stockholm. But I don't think I was that interested in politics till I went to St Martin's. I was there in '68, which is, of course, the whole kind of students' revolt thing, and I think that really politicised me. I think I'd been living in a kind of velvet bubble until that point. Well, it's got to make people look respectable, isn't it? But outside that, you know, fashion industry is like third or fourth largest employer in any industrialised economy. So I'd have thought the role of politics is to protect their indigenous clothing manufacturing in every country, because, I mean, clothing manufacturing is hugely important. And, you know, in England, we have a history of it. You know, we were masters of cotton, masters of wool. We had the most beautiful from the Industrial Revolution. This is one of the things, textile industry was one of the things that was driving Britain to be a superpower, and we should get it back. I think that people are reluctant to talk about it, acknowledge it, because most of the big brands are under pressure to show, you know, more and more profits, and the way that they can do that is by cutting their making costs. And they're lazy. I think most of the big brands and big retailers fundamentally don't give a damn. I think it's pretty shocking that, you know, big designers, you know, big fashion brands like, you know, Saint Laurent, I mean, these people, you know, Dior, they could be leading the way, and they should be leading the way. And what the fuck are they doing? But they live in that world of fashion darling where they're kind of insulated, where they're all, you know, on that particular track of just being rich and famous and the coolest of the cool. I mean, it's severe personality disorder central. I think the first thing is to consume less. You know, is buy clothes that you know are going to, it's better to buy quality, you know, because it's going to last. I want shoes that, you know, I want clothes that aren't made, you know, in appalling factories. How can you guarantee it? You know, nag them, you know, write to them saying, you know, I love your stuff, but I'm not going to buy any more unless you can tell me, you can guarantee that this is made without harming the environment, and that the people who made it have been treated fairly and paid fairly. Where do you start? Corruption in politics, the fact that we're actually so rotted by comfort that we don't really access the democratic process and use it to represent our views, that we just, you know, quite happy to pay half our money for someone to look after us so we don't have to be bothered. I mean, it's everything, isn't it? If you got, there's no point having gorgeous clothes and a new, fantastic new telly if your house is under 6 feet of water. I think everybody's got to wake up, look at what's happening with TTIP, write to your MP, tell them you won't vote for them next time if they support this. You'll be watching them. Write to your MEP as well, because MEPs actually have more powers on these issues than MPs, and Westminster. Brussels got more power than Westminster. Well, I've got NHS Not Trident with me, something I prepared earlier. I think that's hugely important. No to TTIP. And what about the refugees? Oh my God. I think we should be letting more people into this country. I think we should be rescuing them. I think we should requisition cruise ships and just get them and bring them back here and park the cruise ships in harbour till we found somewhere to put them. Because this is just, you know, I think it's a test of our humanity. Somebody said civilizations fall apart when we stop caring for our fellow men. We better prove that we do care. What kind of better world, really? You know, better, safer, cleaner, happier world with a future, a world where people my age aren't afraid to have grandchildren because they don't know what the world's going to be like, where they dread to think what the world's going to be like in 70 years' time. You know, that kind of legacy.